Hi guys, and welcome back from Carly at the Herbathicary. Really good to see you guys again. If you're new to the channel or like the videos, please show your support by hitting like and subscribe down below. So on with a quick disclaimer. I'm sure you've heard this all before. I am not a doctor. I am not an ethnobotanist. I am a experienced forager who's been doing this for about 14 years now. I own a lot of really good guidebooks, do a lot of research and try and test. So this is not an instruction video. This is just me sharing knowledge that I've learned and what we do in our house. So please do your own thorough research first. Don't try anything unless you are 100% sure. Check with a guidebook, check with the internet, check with a forager who might know more than you, and never take my advice just because I'm not using it. It is an absolutely glorious day outside today, so I've decided to come outside to do the recording, as I'm not sure how many more sunny days like this we have. So please excuse any sounds of life around us. The kids are playing in the garden and the neighbors are out too. So we talk a lot about nature providing just when you need it on my channel. And if you've watched my previous videos, especially the one on Mullein, which we are covering again today, you know that in 2022, I was diagnosed with asthma and severe allergies. I developed a really rotten and quite mucousy cough, sorry about that. And in 2021, when lockdown first started, like most foragers, I started harvesting seeds from everything that I could so that I had it close to home when I needed it. Nothing happened from those seeds at that point, but then at the beginning of last year, these tiny little rosettes of fluffy mullein leaves just popped up out of the strangest places, including a block of concrete, which is where this huge one is growing from. Now, as Mullein, I know, or verbascum, the leaves are really good for the respiratory system, antispasmodic, demulcent, emollient. They help rehydrate and moisten the bronchial tissues that start to decay or die off or become inflamed from, increased mucus and the asthma and everything. So I started using those leaves in teas and tinctures and even poultices to help with my back pains. So that really helped, gave me relief from the coughing, helped me clear all that mucus and really helped the symptoms. But then early this year, in spring, my daughter came back from swimming with a really bad earache. Within a week, my tiny little mullein plant had shot up these gorgeous spears of flowers. They're at least 7 foot tall and covered in flowers. The flowers do open at different points, so I've been harvesting them bit by bit as they come out. I do like to leave as many as I can for the bees, but my research also showed that the flowers, when used in an oil infusion, are really good for easing earaches, and turns out they really do really help. So today I'm just going to show you how I process the plant, both to make the tincture to help with my cough and also the oil infusion to help with the earache. My daughter had antibiotics for the first week of the ear infection, and in honesty, I think it actually got worse. But within 2 days of using this, we did 1 drop twice a day for the first day, warmed it up slightly, not hot obviously, don't want to burn our ears, but by the third day of using this, 1 drop on the second day and then 1 drop on the third day, and by that evening her ear infection or earache, it was an ear infection, had completely cleared up, and her hearing came back. Just a quick side note, these beautiful spears, once they have all dried out and gone to seed, we are hoping that will be in time for the autumnal equinox on the 23rd of September. And we have read about the rituals of, once they've dried out, is covering the tips of the spires in candle wax and lighting them as part of the equinox celebration. The stems are really, really strong and really quite thick now, so fingers crossed they will be ready for our camping trip on the 22nd, where we stay up all night until I think it's 7:49 in the morning, when the equinox is supposed to happen. Many of you know that we celebrate pretty much every year. Obviously, there have been some years where we haven't had the chance because of family things. Now, you also know, if you've seen any of my videos, that I love adding lavender oil to everything, and I am blessed to have these 2 huge lavender bushes on either side of my door. Not only is the aroma really, really soothing, but we also use it on wounds, as it is well known to help with the healing of wounds, skin irritations, acne, things like that. So I'll be adding some of those in. So it had just rained this morning, and obviously the bugs do like the flowers, so I have left them out to dry out and for the buggies to vacate. This is the oil I made earlier, but I'll be adding some more flowers today while I show you guys. So the first oil I made was... Well, it wasn't the first batch. The first batch I made back in April when it started flowering, but the previous batch I made was mid-June, and it's now the 5th of July. What I'd normally do is just keep popping the flowers in over the week if I had enough, but as it's been quite a gap in between, what I'm just going to do is strain this previous mixture, as it has been sat there for a couple of weeks, and then I'm just going to add the new flowers to that mixture and allow them to sit for another 4 weeks or so, so that we have a stronger, more infused batch, I guess. So I'm just straining these through a normal sieve. When it's used topically, the little hairs aren't really such an irritant, especially once they've sat in the oil for quite a few weeks. They moisten up and they don't bother you so much. But if you were taking it in a tincture, which I'll show you afterwards, I do actually strain that through a cheesecloth, so that the little hairs, although the little hairs being an irritant might actually help stimulate a cough, I am not a big fan of the uncomfortable feeling of them. I do give it a little help by grabbing a spoon and mushing all the plant matter to get as much of that oil out as possible. I've also been known to, again, use the cheesecloth and give that a good twist so that I'm not losing any of those goodies. But then I'll let it sit there for a few hours while the excess drains through. And as always, don't forget to label and date everything that you make. Again, I do leave this for a minimum of 6 weeks to infuse before using it. I give it a good shake every day so that I know that all those oils and the plant matter are meeting. But now onto that tincture that I use for my respiratory issues. Now, these little leaves, when it comes to smoking, I do prefer the little leaves. the hairs seem to be slightly less rough and they don't irritate my chest as much. So I'll be drying some of those little ones out, and I'm going to be using some of these bigger ones for my tincture. Now, again, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that we can't really get 90 proof or really strong alcohol here unless you get food grade alcohol, ethanol. So we do actually distill just cheap vodka over and over until we get a nice big proof. And this is really, really simple. So I've got a clean, sterilized jar, and I've got my big leaves, and I'm just going to cut them up small, rip them, cut them up, just so you get as much surface area for the alcohol to absorb all the goodies in there. I did also decide to add some of the chocolate mint leaves out of my garden, as menthol is well known for its ability to improve breathing and reduce cold symptoms, and also it adds a little flavor to the tincture, which I quite like. Now, after making quite a few tinctures over the last couple of weeks, we don't actually have that much of the distilled vodka yet left. So I only want to fill the jar enough that the vodka can completely cover it. Don't really want anything above it. There is chances of bacteria and stuff getting in and your tincture going dodgy, and obviously at that point any dark colouring or anything like that, I wouldn't use it. Usually the alcohol is strong enough to keep most of this at bay. However, just in case, I'd rather be extra cautious. So what I'm going to do is just fill it up as much as I can for now, half, a third, top it up with the vodka because I know that's how much I have, and then see how much more I can stuff down and still get it under that alcohol level. Once full, I'm just going to cut one of the bigger leaves so it's just a little larger than the mouth of the jar. Pop that in on top, and using a chopstick, I'm just going to push it down and around the rest of the plant matter, and this will help keep everything under that vodka level. Again, very much like the oil, I'm just going to label, date this, and then stick it in a preferably dark cupboard or area where the temperature doesn't vary too much for at least 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, tincture is technically usable. I do normally make 2 at a time so that I've got one that I can use within 6 weeks and one that I can leave a little longer. So I've got this little weight that I sterilize, and I am just going to pop that on top, make sure everything is submerged, lid on. We don't have to seal it or anything. Like when we're preserving, we'll, boil it and then let the lid seal, but that's not really necessary with this. So label, date, not refrigerate, and pop in a dry, dark place for 6 weeks. And then once those 6 weeks are up, I will be straining this through that cheesecloth. As I said, I don't like the hairy bits, they make my throat itch. So far as dosage, I do take about 2.5 mils a day, and obviously that's not nearly enough alcohol to get you tipsy. I do also decant it into a small spray bottle, which I take around with me, especially while foraging, as I do find when I get that tickly cough, when I'm surrounded by pollen, I do find it very, very helpful to ease that for me. And that's just a spray or 2 when necessary. But again, that dosage is so minimal that there's no way you're gonna get a buzz from it. I obviously do not give this one to the children. Again, thank you guys for coming back to the Herbothicary. It was great to see you again. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.